I don't like the person Dana's become. He's not, a good person. He seems to have lost his character somewhere along the way.
Your relationship with your parents, obviously complicated, difficult. Did you feel sad when you knew they died?
I had almost no feelings about it, to be honest with you. I'm good with it. I focus a lot on my kids, and I've sort of put my relationship with my parents behind me.
If you're remotely a fan of combat sports, you've likely heard of the name
Dana White.
Dana White.
Dana White.
Dana White.
Dana White.
I don't give a f.
Dana transformed what was a failing illegal business into the multi-billion-dollar empire it is today. But his journey to the top was far from easy. Navigating childhood trauma, encounters with a notorious crime boss, and being $40 million in debt, this is the story of Dana White. It's the year 2000 and the UFC is on the brink of collapse.
It was nothing what we expected. There was no energy in the crowd. You walk in the arena, it's about, 1/16 full. There's nobody there. I wanted to buy a program. They didn't have a program. I wanted to buy a t-shirt. You can buy a t-shirt.
This man is no ordinary fight fan. His name is Lorenzo Fertitta.
The Fertittas are very wealthy people.
And if you really know the history of the Fertittas and what they've built and what they've done. Lorenzo Fertitta, him and his brother own Station Casinos, which is like the 4th largest gaming company in the country.
So I'm sitting at the fight with Dana and I'm going, I don't know, either there's something really wrong with us or this business just isn't being run the right way.
We're literally sitting in the crowd going, man, imagine if they did this. Imagine if they did that. This thing could be big.
At the time, the UFC's biggest obstacle wasn't putting on entertaining fights or finding an audience. It was the government.
Started with Senator John McCain, and he was right. McCain came out and said, you can't put on these unregulated fights.
There was no referee, there was nothing. It was terrible. What it was at the beginning was human cockfighting.
Human cockfighting.
It's human cockfighting.
It's sort of like human cockfighting in my view.
When they started getting contact and saying, hey, listen, you guys can't put on fights in unregulated states, the owner basically said, and the old owner of the UFC said, I'll do whatever I want to do. You can't tell me what to do. Well, eventually, Senator John McCain stepped in and talked the cable companies into pulling the plug on them. The ATM machine was cut off.
The UFC was about to go bankrupt, so the owner at the time, Bob Merowitz, was looking for some help. And luckily for him, the person sitting next to Lorenzo Fertitta had prepared his entire life for this moment.
I had a hardcore upbringing. Single mom who was a nurse. Me and my sister were alone a lot. My dad was an alcoholic and never really cared about me and my sister. Me and my sister would sit in the hallway and wait for my dad to come pick us up. My mom worked a lot. She'd say, your dad's gonna come pick you up today. So we would sit on this bench and wait for my dad to come. He'd never show up. My parents taught me a lot about what I didn't want to be as a parent. My mother used to tell me that I was going to be just like my father and not amount to anything. And my mom did a lot of shit like that. And I'm not saying that that's what drove me, but that didn't hurt. You know what I mean? My relationship with my parents has definitely made me who I am today in many different ways, not just in life and in business, but as a father too. I honestly wouldn't change one thing about the way that I grew up. If I didn't grow up the way that I did, I wouldn't be who I am today. I 100% firmly believe that. Let's just say I wasn't a school guy. I didn't love school. I got kicked out of high school a bunch of times. It's not that I didn't want to learn and I didn't want to be successful. It just school wasn't for me. When I was 19 years old, I worked at a hotel, at a place called the Boston Harbor Hotel. You know, there's some guys that get those jobs, and those are the type of jobs they're lifers. They want those jobs forever. And it's a good job. It's not a bad job. It just wasn't for me. And I was standing in that lobby and I was just like, man, I hate this job. This isn't me. This isn't where I belong. And I know lots of people have felt that way before about their jobs. The difference between me and a lot of people is I got up and walked out. And I walked out the front door and one of my good friends says, what are you doing? I said, I'm quitting. He's like, what? What are you gonna do? I said, I wanna be in the fight business. He said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm sure you guys run into this all the time with young people. If you go to any college and you meet 10 college students, you say, what are you taking? I'm taking political science right now, but I'm thinking of switching to marketing. A lot of kids that go to college don't know who they are and what they want to be and do for the rest of their life. They went to college because everybody told them if you didn't go to college, you wouldn't amount to anything. Then you get to college and you're taking these classes because you were told you had to go here anyway, but you don't really know what you want to do and don't know who you are. So at the end of the day, you end up with a degree that you can't use.
Doesn't mean anything.
Because you don't know what you want to do. And the key to life is finding out who you are and what it is you love to do and what it is you want to do for the rest of your life. And once you figure that out, you wake up every day and you work toward it. But the one thing that I can always say that I was very lucky is I always knew what I wanted to do. As far back as I can ever remember, all I wanted to do was be in the fight business.
In hopes to chase his dreams, Dana relocates to Boston where he finds a job as a boxing trainer.
I had a boxing program there, and one day I'm actually in there teaching a class, and these guys walked right in the middle of my class. Like, I'm teaching a class, we need to talk to you. I'm thinking, these guys own the club or something. So we walk outside, and he's like, yeah, you owe me money. I said, I don't even know you. How do I owe you money?
When I say the name Whitey Bulger, you think mobster, murderer, extortionist, informant?
Murder, terror, and corruption. All words synonymous with notorious mobster James Whitey Bulger.
Living in South Boston at that time was like, these guys didn't know what century it was. You didn't call the police, and they later ended up finding out he was working with the FBI.
Yeah.
So people that did call police, he would know.
Wow.
Did it. And he was working with the FBI against other mob guys and shit like that. It's a fascinating story. You know, a couple of dudes that worked for Whitey showed up and were looking for some money that I couldn't pay them.
What do you do?
I ignored them. I didn't do anything. One day I was at my house and I got a call. The guy's like, you got till tomorrow at 1 to pay us. And I said, or what? And they're like, are you gonna find out? So I literally hung up the phone, picked it back up and called Delta. Got a one-way ticket to Vegas.
Little did he know, Dana's move back to Vegas ends up being the best thing that could have ever happened to him.
I was on the grind when I was in my 20s. I had a blanket policy. I did not go to anybody's wedding. Didn't matter who you were or how close you were to me. I didn't go to anybody's wedding. There was this kid named Adam Corrigan that I grew up with in Vegas. He would pick me up and drive me to school every day. This dude had to wake up an hour earlier every day to drive me to school. Never forgot that. This dude's getting married. There's no way I'm not going to his wedding. I go to his wedding, and who do I run into? The Fertitta brothers.
Wow.
At the time, I was on the Nevada State Athletic Commission, so we obviously had some common interests.
He says to me at the wedding, I hear you're doing this boxing thing. I would love to come train with you. I said, let's do it on Monday. And we've been together ever since.
And that's how Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta end up going to their first UFC fight together. Through that UFC fight, they start to develop an interest for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so they decide to enroll in a class together and learn from the professionals.
That's how we started to meet a lot of these fighters and training with them. And through that introduction, I started to represent and manage Chuck the Iceman Liddell and Tito Ortiz. And I got into this huge contract battle over Tito's contract with the old owner. And I was talking about pay-per-view and he flipped out. He says, you know what? There is no more money. I don't even know if I can put on the next event. And I was like, holy shit, this thing's in trouble. The Fertitta brothers were in Florida. I called them and said, I think the UFC's in trouble. I think they're going out of business and I think we can buy it and I think we should buy it. And a month later, we owned the company.
I get a call from the owner, Robert Meyerowitz, at the time, and he said, well, the bad news is I sold the UFC. The good news is I sold it to Dana White and the Fertitta brothers, and they want to keep you and Big John McCarthy. And I said, oh, I'm really sad to see you go, but...
When you really think about what we bought those 3 letters and an old wooden octagon. The brand, you know, was called Human Cockfighting. It was illegal in many states. He had sold everything off. The DVD rights, the video game rights, the merchandise rights. Wasn't sanctioned by the athletic commissions. We didn't even own UFC.com. UFC.com used to be user-friendly computers. We were the redheaded stepchild of the Fertitta portfolio, I can tell you that. Nobody thought that this thing was gonna be big. Nobody thought it was gonna work except for 3 guys. Me, Frank, and Lorenzo Fertitta.
With a lot of work needed to be done, Dana and the Fertitta brothers decided to focus on achieving one specific goal.
I knew this thing was a diamond in the rough. This thing just needed to be picked up, polished, and delivered the right way. What we wanted to do was get live fights on free TV. We believe that if we get on free television, more people will see this, love it like we do, and it'll work. First 3 years of this company, every day when I came in here, it was war. I'd yell on the phone, you know, people think I swear a lot now. You should have heard me the first 3 years of this company. There was a couple of years there where I was actually in the air more than I was on the ground. I had to fly to places and literally had to wait outside people's offices for them to come out and grab them. So we were trying to put the live fights on free TV. It wasn't working. We couldn't get it done. So we're losing money on the shows. We're losing money on overhead. We end up burning like $44 million. and this thing really isn't getting any traction yet.
An investment that we thought was $2 million has all of a sudden turned into $30-40 million, and there's no end in sight. This could easily turn into $100 million real quick. I called Dana and I said, look, we're gonna have to take a loss on this thing. It's time to move on. We can't keep funding this thing. It's not working.
I get the call from Lorenzo, and he's like, I need you to get out there and find out what we could sell this thing for right now. So I start making calls, and I call him back at the end of the day. I said, 6, 7, 8 million bucks we could sell this thing for.
Number one, the thought of failing. Number two, the thought of, I'm the one that came with this idea. I'm the one that wanted to do this. And now I just lost my friends 30-something million bucks.
The fact that you've put all this time and energy into it and it just doesn't work. It didn't work the way that you thought it would. I'm like, this is a wrap. It's over. If it's not over right now, we're close. This thing's gonna shut down soon. The next morning, I'm driving to work and he calls me and says, let's keep going.
Wow.
That's awesome. They decide to give it another shot, but they know that something clearly needs to change. So Dana gathers his team to come up with a last-ditch effort.
We said, we need to come up with a reality show. Me and my team went into my office at like 11:30 at night and came out at 2 in the morning with The Ultimate Fighter.
The 16 of you are among the top unknown professional light heavyweights and middleweights in the country.
Over the next 50 days, 2 legends in the world of mixed martial arts will be instrumental in deciding who wins the UFC contracts.
So all these guys live in a house. For those of you that don't know, they're coached by 2 big stars in the UFC, and it would end with a finale. 2 guys fight in the finale. 1 guy becomes the Ultimate Fighter and gets a contract with the UFC. Now we're out pitching it. And there's this new network that just started at the time called Spike TV, which was the network for men. We're like, oh, this is perfect for us. The network for men. They can't deny this. So the guys came in and they met with us. They could not get out of this meeting fast enough. And they leave and they didn't like it. And we said, well, what if we pay for it? I said, well, we like it a lot better now. This will be our last investment in the UFC. If this doesn't work, we're done. So we spent $10 million producing the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. Then we get on, and the thing goes like this, takes off. The first episode pulled 1.3 million viewers, which was by far the biggest thing they had on their network. By episode 5, we do 2.1 million viewers. The president of the network gets fired. The president of the company got fired. At a time when you see a show that pulls these kind of numbers and is this successful, there's billboards, there's commercials, there's ads in magazines, it's everywhere. You can't hide from that show, right? Yeah. They did nothing. They had made all these promises to me and everything else, all dead. Nothing. So we go through this whole season, it's unbelievably successful, and we honestly didn't know if we were gonna have a second season. So we're at the finale that night. Diego Sanchez fought Kenny Florian, comes out and annihilates him in a minute. I'm like, oh my God, this is a nightmare. But the savior, Stephan Bonner and Forrest Griffin. So these 2 guys come out, light heavyweights, and they put on the sickest fight you have ever seen in your life. People were stomping their feet and it sounded like a train was going through the arena. We had more people watching than the Masters on CBS. And at the end of the fight, people were chanting one more round. And then on the cuff, I go in there and on the fly, give them both contracts and the place goes crazy. And you just knew in the building that night. Any doubt I had, everything was gone. I knew it was gonna happen. If I had dreamed of the fight that I would like to have in the finale, I couldn't have dreamed this fight up. That's how good the fight was. And I knew when that fight was over, it didn't matter if we did another deal with Spike TV or didn't do another deal. We did it. That night, they take us out into the back alley and we cut a new deal on a napkin. Literally written on a napkin, the new deal. It all came together. It's almost like this was meant to be. If that first season didn't happen, I would not be sitting here right now. It's a fact. It's the craziest story ever. You literally couldn't write this shit.
With increased exposure, the UFC's popularity continued to explode.
And then Chuck Liddell came out to the scene. And when Chuck Liddell was the champion, Chuck Liddell was so terrifying. He would just come at you, just swinging bombs, take one on the chin, knock dudes out. His fights were...
The UFC's growth not only continued within the States, but also began to see a surge in other parts of the world, as international fighters would emerge as stars and then draw attention from their home countries, like GSP with Canada, Anderson Silva with Brazil, and Michael Bisping with the UK.
Every time we go into a new market and we put on an event, just starts this explosion. I'll sit there and I'll think about it. I got this guy from China fighting a guy from Kazakhstan. I got this guy from Brazil fighting a guy from France. So we're in this budget meeting and Lorenzo is up writing on this whiteboard. And I'm like, wait a minute. Does that say I'm gonna make $1 million this year? Lorenzo's like, yeah. Yeah.
And when it seemed like things couldn't possibly get any better,
What's
Welcome
up,
to
man?
the UFC, man.
Yeah, thank you very much.
The reigning, defending, 155-pound champion of the UFC, the notorious Conor McGregor.
I don't just knock them out, I pick the round. I said I'd knock them out in the first round, and I knocked them out in the first round. You can call me Mystic Mac because I predict these things.
They want you to give us a quick count to 10, both of you gentlemen, if you don't mind, just if you wouldn't mind counting to 10.
Nate can only count to 5. 10.
So what is it that he did that disrespected you that got you to dislike him?
This is not a therapy session. This guy TKOs people. When I knock people out, they don't move. They're not. Who the is that guy? Who the is that? I felt when we stared down, I felt his right hand was twitching a little bit, but it was a subtle tell for me. He is ready to unload that right hand, but I feel that could be a downfall for him. If he lets that right hand go, I will not be there. I will create traps and dead space inside that octagon all over the place, and I will walk him into it like a zombie, lead him into dead space, lead him where he feels he is safe, but all of a sudden, it's a trap and he is in big danger.
Since 2001, the UFC has been this rocket ship of success, going from nearly selling the company and losing $40 million to then having completely revived the brand as a whole. You'd think there's nothing that could possibly stand in Dana's way. But then, 2020 happens.
The World Health Organization declared that the coronavirus crisis is now a pandemic.
This astounding and unprecedented story continues to evolve. The NBA is suspending the season.
The biggest sports leagues in the world were forced to shut down. And when most people saw this as an opportunity to take a break from work, Dana searched for a solution.
I had this philosophy that nothing is impossible. My attitude and my thought process was, this is America. We don't quit, we don't give up. You have the opportunity to do whatever. If you want to hide in your house, hide in your house. It's just, I'm not built that way.
We got a call somewhere around April that Dana has a dream to create a fight island.
Yes, the UFC is apparently building a facility on a private island that they're calling Fight Island. Now, is that a clever name? No. Is it the perfect name? Yes.
COVID was the toughest thing I've ever had to navigate in the history of this company. And if you look at where we came from, that's actually saying something. Nothing was harder than going through COVID. I'm being attacked by everybody. I'm the devil. I care about money more than people.
This whole damn idea is reckless.
So many risks involved in this. There's no way they come out of this completely unscathed.
Dana White's legacy? Pay me, even if I put you in serious and potentially fatal harm.
We'd hit so many dead ends and so many walls. There's a couple times I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Wow. Am I doing the right thing? Right. And I'd say, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. There were a lot of concerns with the virus, and especially we were looking for a place where we could bring people in from all over the world. And I knew in Abu Dhabi, they were testing people. I'm like, well, if they're testing people, why can't we test people? And then you start thinking, well, let's build a lab. I'm gonna get scientists in here and we're gonna figure out how to test. I got a really nice house, brother, and I'm good. Right. I can go hide. My employees can't, right? My employees are scared, am I gonna not get paid? Some of them have kids. Not on my watch, brother. Before each event, I'm being tested. All the people that are connected from production, behind the scenes, athletic commission, then the people that we were bringing over, we tested, flew over on our own private plane, got to the island, we were tested again and tested multiple times up until the event happened. It was the only true bubble that really existed. At a time when companies were, making the decision to lay off 30-40% of their staff, there was no way I was laying off one employee, no matter what it took. I didn't care what it would have taken. Every week, I would send out a video to my employees. Enjoy the quality time you have. If any of your loved ones or anybody you care about gets sick, make me your first call. If you need toilet paper was a big deal at that time. We'll get you toilet paper. If you need food and you can't get groceries or you need anything, call us and we'll take care of you. When shit hits the fan and you need something and you're going through some hard times, who's really there for you? That's when you find out who's who and what's what. You know what I mean? And that's what happened here at the UFC. So when the time came when I told my troops, we're going. Everybody went. My whole team stormed the beach with me, and we went and we ripped through COVID. It was the most successful time in the company's history. 3 fights that should have been doing 350,000 buys were doing 1 million. When other people weren't playing, our fan base grew 46%. We're now one of the top 4 sports in the United States.
The Big Four has changed.
Exactly. The Big Four has changed. We are one of them. Nothing wears me down. I love adversity. I love people saying, this can't be done. Some people can't deal with chaos. Some people can't handle the pressure. I love that shit. That's what gets me up in the morning. I eat that shit for fucking breakfast.
What's the secret to your success? Just looking back over the years.
Well, the secret to success, I would say, first of all, is passion and consistency. I was doing this when I was broke.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this now when I'm not broke. I'm doing this because I love it. My mother used to tell me that I was going to be just like my father and not amount to anything. My mom did a lot of shit like that. And I'm not saying that that's what drove me, but that didn't hurt. You know what I mean?
I would love to see him change, make things the way I want them, to have my old Dana back.